Hi, I'm Adrian Pratt, though some of you may know me as James Hargreaves. That's the name I used to write my first novel, Overlords of K Street. That was a political thriller set in Costa Rica, the Caribbean, and Washington, D.C. I've finally gotten around to working on a sequel, and that is going to be set in Calcutta. Now, I thought it would be interesting to have a series of discussions with friends and experts about various themes that are going to be appearing in my book, and perhaps soliciting input from any fellow Calcutta lovers out there for characters or stories that should be included in the book. Today's guest is Iftekhar Ahsan, a longtime friend of mine from Calcutta. He founded Calcutta Walks many years back, and that's a company that takes visitors through the wonderful neighborhoods of Calcutta, talking about the rich history and the various cultures that make Calcutta such a unique place. A few years back, Ifti bought a 1920s heritage home and lovingly restored it to what is today Calcutta Bungalow, a place where visitors to the city can stay in refined elegance and a little glimpse back into what Calcutta used to be like in the old days. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. Hi, Ifti. Again, thank you very much for taking time to sit down with me and chat about a mutual love of ours, Calcutta.
Yes.
As I mentioned in the introduction, you started long time back Calcutta Walks, where you take visitors down the gullies and into the neighborhoods of Calcutta and talk about the wonderful and diverse history and culture of the place. So I was hoping that you could tell people who perhaps haven't been to Calcutta what, in your mind, makes the city so unique amongst all the places in India. Why is Calcutta different?
Hey, Adrian. It's like I told you, it's always lovely to chat about Calcutta and to chat with you. So both are my favorite things to do. So no problem at all. So your first question is something that you and I both know the answer to, but let's try and articulate it. Let's try and find ways to put that in words. So Calcutta, I don't think is a city unlike another, simply because it in so many ways it's more like a village, and in so many ways it's more like a giant neighborhood where people know each other from across the city. And people, so you don't, in spite of being a city of so many millions of people, the fact that people find time for each other, people find time to kind of hang out with each other, people uh, reach each other's homes unannounced, and people do this social gatherings, like our community, for example. We are a very small community of cloth dyers from Rajasthan, so we came and settled in Calcutta. And every time our community gatherings happen, it looks like there are like 3,000 people in the gathering. I don't know, like if you can, even imagine a gatherings of that sort, where 3,000 people are together in one space, and then they disperse, and then they get lost in the city. So it's all kind of, it's such an amazingly communal gathering that we just feel that, it's like a warm, inviting city that, like, say, if you are, if I was, like, say, in another city, I probably would have to adapt more to become like most of the residents of the city. So you have to homogenize, sort of. But in a city like Calcutta, you could retain your cultural leanings, you can retain your quirks, you can retain your so, like, and the reason I say that is because I often have these debates with some of my relatives and friends who move from Calcutta to places like Bangalore or in other places in India. And the way, there's a sea change of opinions and ideas that you can immediately kind of discuss and get a sense of that, they don't believe in hanging on to their cultural roots. They don't believe in, so they have this weird sense of India that, Calcuttans have never had. Like, Calcuttans have been at the forefront of first getting India entrapped in under the British Empire, and then at the forefront of getting rid of them and making the country free once again. So the city has seen it all. The people of the city has seen it all. So really, it's not up to debate that what kind of an Indian Calcuttan is, because Calcuttans, like I told you, have been at the forefront of making India and making it exactly what it is,
Mm.
today.
Yes. So I mean,
So
that's beautifully put. And one of the things that we both love about Calcutta is the diversity and the coexistence. And as a species, us human beings at the moment are not very good in coexistence. Why is that works in Calcutta and so few other places on the planet?
I think most great cities of the world became great with immigrants from all over the world. So I would say that there is that strain that is always there, even like crazy world rulers, and I won't name anyone, who run massive corporations, could not have created those corporations without immigrants from all over the world. So obviously everyone knows for a fact that practically you need that,
Mm.
but people also know for a fact that we have these insecurities and these fears, and if you feed on them, if you create divisions based on them, which is what the British did in India so well. They created the differences amongst the Muslims and the Hindus, amongst the castes and amongst the segregation. So they try to make everything black and white, and different opposites and binaries that they created, which are still causing problems in our country today. So I think Calcutta, because I said it's like this wise old lady who's seen it all. You're not going to throw anything at it that it hasn't seen. It's seen imperialism, it's seen capitalism, it's seen communism, it's seen street revolutions, it's seen freedom fighters, it's seen all kinds of the Naxalite movement, and then
Mm.
so it's seen it all. So that's why I think there is that wisdom on the streets that lurks, that there are various political pulls and tugs that will always be pulling and tugging at you in various directions, but what matters at the end of the day is the humanity of it all. And humanity, which is a shared humanity, which is what you and I connect on every time we meet, every time we talk. It's what people of Calcutta connect with every time they meet and talk. So there's commonalities in food. So if the Armenians came and gave us the cello kebab, we love the cello kebab. If the Chinese came and gave us the chili chicken, which probably doesn't even exist in China, but we love that chili chicken. We love also one big binder, of course, is the food,
Mm.
and the other is, of course, the people that came, and the love that the people kind of localized and became. Like not too far from my office, there's a lovely temple called Firangi Kali Temple, which was famous for having a Portuguese priest
Mm.
as the Kali devotee. And so Calcutta is riddled with stories like this, where like it's like we often talk about like the Crusades, or the Silk Road, or even the colonization of India. The fact that these were massive enterprises in their own right, but the offshoot of that was there was so much cultural exchange. And I think because of that, Calcutta kind of settles its people very well and embraces its communities very well, much more than many other cities.
It's funny you mentioned chili chicken. That there's a lovely restaurant just up the road from us called Chai Pani, and they specialize in Indian street food. And they just launched a new menu a couple of weeks ago, and one of them is chili chicken, and it mentions that it was from Tangra in Kolkata. So
Of course, of
we
course.
we get up there as often as we can. I want to take you down a little sort of different gully that perhaps you're not expecting, but now that I have a lot of time on my hands, I've been doing a lot of reading, and I've been reading all of Satyajit Ray's stories and Tagore's stories, and they're all magical and beautiful, but there is a lot of reference to magic and to the supernatural in there. And I heard sort of stories about that in when I was in Calcutta, when I lived there. There's great ghost stories and great sort of respect for the supernatural. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Is that something that is also real and unusual about Calcutta?
Uh, there is this belief system that the people of Bengal and the people of Calcutta. So this runs across India, that they are specialists in magic, they are specialists in occult, and they're specialists in the paranormal, or harnessing the paranormal and all that. But I mean, there is that for sure. There is the element of, and we often hear uh, like people marrying into the wrong families and then ending up getting into a lot of trouble because the family is into magic and it's is into putting these little bands on your arm that you wear that cause you problems and does not. So of course, as a practicing Muslim, I I dismiss all this and I say none of this exists. But the moment you go out on the streets, the moment you interact with the people, you see that there is, what is beautiful is that people do have a belief that it's not only what we know. What we know is very little, and the arrogance of that should be extremely contained and limited because we know so little. And there is so much more in this world that is not captured in the stories and in the books and in the scientific experiments and in words. So of course, and it's always been a dream of mine to create a nighttime ghost kind of experience of the
Mm.
city so that people can walk around and experience that. But the problem is people don't take that very casually, people take it very seriously, and that becomes a problem because then anyone whose house you show and you tell them about the ghost story, and then the house owners get very offended about it. They
Mm.
don't like the fact that you're using that for tourism.
Right.
And yeah, so there's a huge thing. The Christian Burial Board told me straight off, saying that you can't come maligning our cemeteries by saying that there are ghosts and spirits and things. So
Well,
people
sorry, I didn't
take
mean
it
to
in a
interrupt.
yeah,
Please.
people take it in a very different way, and that's not and that becomes difficult. But of course there is a lot of and all the communities, the diversity that exists, the all the diversity has its own. Like the Christians have their own little system of thinking about and talking about spirits. The Muslims have their own ways of talking about jinns and how jinns exist
Mm.
everywhere, and you must be very careful, and you must not be like bad mouthing about them or talking about them in a negative way. Then but they're good genes and they're bad genes, just like they're good people, they're bad people. But of course the large chunk of it, of course, is the Bengali Hindu version of it, which comes quite a lot from the tantric philosophy of the followers of goddess Kali, and
Mm.
how Kali is this amazingly dark force. And what happens is, I think my understanding tells me that by and large, Hindus believe that we all have these dark energies inside us. We all have dark thoughts and dark motives inside us. So when you have a goddess like the Kali, then you channelize that darkness towards this goddess, and and it comes back as something positive because
Mhm.
you've given it a positive spin. So if you don't have a goddess like that, and if you have all the, like the goody two shoes kind of goddesses, then they are not really being able to absorb your negativity, absorb your negative energy. Because we do have crime in the world, we do have all kinds of pedophilia and crimes against women and crimes against children and all kinds of modern slavery and all kinds of crimes that still exist in the world. So obviously that is an inherent part of the human. It is the yang to the yin of the human being. So if you avoid it, if you suppress it, if you deny it, chances are it'll come out in weird ways. So you channelize it, you take all that occult and all that paranormal, and you channelize it through Shiva's worship, through Kali's worship, through the worship of the, like Shiva is supposed to be Bhutnath, which is the lord of the spirits. And
Mm.
Shiva worship is big in Calcutta. Even, but of course, the biggest is Kali worship, because Kali is who Calcutta belongs to. And uh, a lot of these dark forces are channelized under the goddess Kali, and because of which crime in Calcutta is so crazily low, which is insane. For a city of so many millions of people, there should have been a higher rate of crime, but there isn't. And that's why even the Calcutta police force is such a soft police force.
Yeah, no, and I do. I want to get back to that towards the end of our chat, because that is something that is to me truly comforting about the city. We always felt utterly safe there, even at ridiculously late hours of the day. Um, and the only reason I mentioned the spirits is because in in the books that I've been reading, it's always a very gentle presence. It's always very comforting. The dark forces that you talk about so marvelously are not often referred to. It's something that struck me, that there's an underlying sort of motif of all the stories that I've been reading. I'd like to, if we can, go back to the food, because you and I went on this marvelous food tour a couple years back, and one of the things that struck me is just what you were talking about a few minutes back, is that Calcuttans love all sorts of food from all different kinds of cultures, and they've embraced them into their own. But it seems particularly important in rituals and in community here, the celebration of food. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, food, of course, is, I mean, the fact that there are like close to 14 million people in the city and they need to be fed every day. Of course, there's going to be a lot of food that will be out there. But the amazing thing is that, I don't know if it's the number of people that makes it happen, or but then there are so many other cities in India which also has a big number of people, and I can't say the same for their food. So I think in Calcutta there was sorry, there's Calcutta does have a slightly higher than median level of quality of food and the taste of food on the streets. The fact that, like we said, so many communities deposited their food cultures and patterns in the foodscape of the city. But there's also the fact that there were these rich people, the nouveau riche, who were making so much money by being close to the British, by gifting them something and gaining favors in return. That these nouveau riche also were patronizing food creators who were experimenting, who were coming up with better versions of older products. So there was a lot of experimentation that we now, of course, in Calcutta, we call it the heritage food.
Mhm.
But those were all experimentations when they came out. Like for example, the chili chicken. It's such an amazing experimentation. So I think Calcutta has a high standard of street food because of all these influences, but also because uh, people are demanding when it comes to food. I guess that's also a thing. They're not accepting of any random processed food you throw at them, because I mean, one amazing thing is McDonald's failed here. So I think that's the mark of a great city.
Amen to that. Amen to that. That's fantastic.
They tried opening in different places, like three or four different outlets in different places, and they all failed. They kept failing. I think they didn't get the roaring success they were hoping to get in India.
That's lovely. There's one of the other things that struck me forcefully. Again, there's a lot been written in recent years about the negativity of empire and what the Brits did over in India. Essentially, out of Calcutta, running a narco state with the opium. There were also famines during their reign, and yet, unlike other parts of India, the statues weren't ripped down. The Victoria Memorial is still a museum and a place that people view with great affection. So, what I know, Calcutta was the original British city, essentially in India. But what is the legacy nowadays in Calcutta of the Brits and of the Raj and of empire?
In terms of legacy, the architecture, of course, as you've seen, is there, and it's seen as part of our shared heritage. It's not, we don't do as good a job as we should for taking care of them, for restoring them. but but a big chunk of Calcuttans, they do identify, understand, and appreciate the fact that these were just glorious times of architecture.
Mm.
They were just building amazing buildings wherever they were building in the world. So it just happened to be that that time was under colonial rule and we were under the British. But it's not like, it's not like post independence England has amazing buildings. It doesn't. Most buildings that were made even there after in the 40s and 50s and 60s were not great buildings.
Nothing to
so
be proud
so
of.
people yeah, so people do understand the fact that that was just an amazing period of architecture that we must appreciate and take care of, especially if we can convert it into tourism. Now, that is something that is there, that understanding is there. But at the same time, because all the revolutionary activity was kind of headquartered in Calcutta, so there are revolutionary stories associated with some of these buildings. Like for example, if you're talking about the writers' buildings, I mean, yes, it was the headquarters of the East India Trading Company. It was where the writers were. Yes, it was where the British government was run from. But then it was also where three nationalists stormed into the building, killed the Inspector General of Prisons, tried to blow the place up, got and executed. So that story is also there.
Hmm.
So because of that, I think a lot of the Octoloni Monument became Shahid Minar, or the Martyrs column. So all these places and buildings and locations also have the stories from. So we focus on the stories of the anti-British activities, and then the other stories we focus on also is the fact that so many of the British that came in here may have come in as colonizers, but very soon they converted into friends of India. Like people like James Prinsep or Sir William Jones, or all these people who, or Anthony Firangi of the Kalibari. So people like that, they may have come looking to take from here, but then as soon as they arrived here, they were mesmerized, they were taken in by the cultural milieu, and they became like Calcuttans, like natives, like Bengalis. And that also leaves behind a huge imprint on the city, because we love those people. We love what James Prinsep did with discovering Ashoka's edicts through the Brahmi and the Kharosti scripts. We love William Jones's creation of the Asiatic Society. We love the fact that William Carey came and translated the Bible in 40 different languages, and had become so local that people always were confused whether he was a pandit or a priest. So many of these stories abound in the city, that we love these stories, and we focus on those as references to go to when we're talking about a Calcutta from back in the day. And uh, and 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 keeping the containment of the colonial heritage. So, like for example, if you go to the Flagstaff House in Barrackpore, just outside the city, it has a bunch of statues that were removed from the city. If you go to the Victoria Memorial Grounds, you'll see a bunch of statues that were removed from the city, replaced by Indian nationalists.
Mm.
But those statues were also beautiful statues, so they were not destroyed; they were put there,
Right.
because I think it's important for all cities to kind of remember what it used to be like, because
It's
and
such
not
a
gloss.
it's such a beautiful explanation. It's such a mature way to view history in these nationalist times. I remember when we were living in Calcutta, there was a move afoot to rename the Victoria Memorial after Netaji Bose, and Netaji's family came out and said, "Look, you can't just pretend that this history didn't happen. It's a shared history that we Calcuttans have." And you can't wish it away. You can't rename it away. It's in the genes of the city. And I find that, as I say, very admirable and respectable in these nationalistic times all over the world, where history is being rewritten or at least bent to the will of a political agenda. Was I really am very cognizant of the time that you're gifting me here, Ifti. So if I could get back to the question of safety and security in Calcutta that you touched upon, because you're right. I mean, it's a massive city filled with people who, are people and have their needs and their desires, and yet,
And most of them are very limited means people.
yeah,
So if they do step out of the line, you would perfectly understand.
exactly. And yet, um, there is this, as you said, the sense of of community and of it being a large village, and um, the crime is very minimal there. And talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the city has seen so much violence in its past that, like I told you, it's this grand old dame now, so it understands the fact that violence doesn't really lead to anything solid at the end of it. So because we've seen the nationalistic riots, we've seen the riots between the Hindus and the Muslims, we've seen the famines where people were like literally dying on the streets thanks to the British. We've seen so much of chaos and tumult that I think at the end of it we've kind of grown wiser from
Mm,
there. And that's why I think a lot of the city, of course, there is this overarching soft Bengali ethos also that kind of envelops the city. And the fact that like my friends in Delhi or in Bangalore or in these other faster moving cities, they're always making fun of the fact that you guys are so easily satisfied. Like you get you get
as if
you
that's an
do.
insult, right?
Yeah, they mean that as an insult, absolutely. And I take that as a badge of honor. I'm like, yeah, we have very small stomachs and very very easily satiated, and we're not hankering for a lot in life. And uh, and the fact that you like the reason I decided to not send my kids to school and just kind of go ahead and live a life with them, let them learn from the city, was also because of the fact that I'm living in Calcutta. If I
Mm.
was living in another city, I probably wouldn't have attempted it, you know. Or maybe I would have left the city and gone to a rural part or something more nature driven. But because we are in a city like Calcutta, where the people will teach you so many things if you just let them, that I really, really appreciate that, and that's the reason why I decide that Calcutta will be the village that my kids will grow up in.
That's amazing.
So yeah,
I've been following on social media your Adda that you've been doing at the Calcutta Bungalow. If you would explain what Adda means to you, but also why you've begun doing this. I noticed some of them you hold up on the roof, some of them you hold out on the stoop in the street outside the Calcutta Bungalow.
right. So Adda is, as we used to do Adda, when you were here, is just freewheeling conversation. Is just conversation with as little judgment as possible, because we cannot be without judgment. That's just human nature. But with as little judgment as possible, with as little interruptions as possible, so that you can air your views. And in fact, there was this Urdu poet who was supposed to be in Calcutta for a program, and because he had said some anti kind of, which were perceived were as anti-Islamic things, so a lot of the groups protested against him, and people like us, we went and protested for him, saying that okay, he may have opposing views, but he should be allowed to speak in Calcutta, because
Mm.
it's a city that allows dissent, it allows, and all that happens because of the Adda. So when the Mughals were here, they called it Hujjate Bengal, which means the argument of Bengal. So it was famous under Mughal rule that you can argue with anyone but not with a Bengali, because they get their, they get their practice in the addas. Because when they're sitting in the addas, smoking away, having endless cups of cha, then they are just discussing all kinds of things, because they're brain solid people.
Yeah.
They've read books from around the world. They've read political theories. They've read philosophies. They've read all that. So when they come down and do adda with you, then it starts off as being very very basic and small talk, but then evolves into something that becomes very deep and has long lasting impact. So the fact that I chose to host the addas at the Calcutta Bungalow was because I always wanted Calcutta Bungalow to be a space that was a restored old house from the 1920s, but I also always wanted it to be a place where people come together and communicate with each other and talk to each other and not be closed minded, because a lot of the problem with people these days is that, in their social media silos, they are either living in their echo chambers, or they are kind of confronting people. And social media somehow becomes this place where people come out with terrible things, because they
Mm.
just it's like, like I may hesitate saying something bad to you on your face, but the moment I'm behind the screen, I have this protection, so I can go all out and say all kinds of things. And so I said, we need to get back to the idea of just talking while sitting in front of face to face with each other, because there's so much of an energy exchange, there's so much of a cultural exchange, there's so much of you're exchanging much more than just words. And that's the reason why kind of we host one. But then there are others happening in the city all the time, every time, as you've seen, as you've experienced, as you've taken part in, actually. Yeah, so they're always happening, and that's the beauty of Calcutta, that you have an Adda at every given opportunity, because people love to talk, people love to kind of air their views and listen and get the other person's views also, which is something I think we really need more
Yeah,
of in this world.
I absolutely agree. Well, Ifti, thank you so much for your time. You've always been one of Calcutta's biggest cheerleaders. We've been friends for a long, long time now, and um, that's the reason that I wanted to reach out and have a chat with you for this series of conversations about Calcutta. Wanted you to kick it off, and you've done your city proud, and it's so lovely to see you again and to do a little bit of remote Ada with you.
I'm so glad, Adrian. We can't wait to have you back here.
Thank you so much for it. Hopefully it won't be long, but look after yourself, and I really appreciate your time, Ifti. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, Adrian. Talk to you
Bye.
soon.
Yeah.
Bye.